Tae-sung wiped the sweat from his forehead as he arranged bottles of Earth products on the metal shelves. His small shop on Station Omega 7 was not much to look at, just a corner booth in the massive alien marketplace where thousands of species came to trade. He sold simple things from Earth: coffee beans, chocolate bars, small bottles of cologne. Nothing expensive, nothing special. His business partner Ji-woo sat behind the counter, checking inventory on a datapad. She looked tired. They both did. Running a shop this far from Earth was hard work. The station orbited a gas giant in neutral space, far from human colonies. Most of their customers were aliens who had never seen a human before. "Another slow day," Ji-woo said, not looking up. "We sold 3 items." "3." Tae-sung nodded. He was about to suggest closing early when a creature entered the shop. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with skin that looked like purple crystal. Its 4 eyes moved independently, scanning the shelves. Tae-sung recognized the species, a Velthron from the crystalline Dominion. Very wealthy, very rare this far out. "Welcome," Tae-sung said, straightening up. "Can I help you find something?" The alien's translator device clicked on. Its voice came out smooth and musical. "I am called Velrax. I seek curiosities from the human world." Tae-sung smiled. This was his usual pitch. He showed Velrax the coffee, explained how humans drink it hot. He showed the chocolate, describing the sweet taste. The alien seemed politely interested but not excited. Then Velrax's eyes locked onto something behind the counter. "That scent," Velrax said suddenly. "What is that magnificent scent?" Tae-sung sniffed the air. He smelled nothing unusual, just the recycled station air and maybe his own cologne. He had put some on that morning. "I don't smell anything special," Tae-sung admitted. "There!" Velrax pointed a crystalline finger at Tae-sung. "You! The scent comes from you!" Tae-sung felt uncomfortable. Maybe my cologne? I wear a little, just regular stuff from Earth." "Cologne?" Velrax stepped closer. His 4 eyes were wide with excitement. "This cologne, I must have it. Name your price." "It's just cheap cologne," Tae-sung said. He pulled a small bottle from his pocket. "Cost me maybe 10 credits back home. You can have it for 20. Velrax stared at the bottle like it was made of gold. "I will give you 10,000 credits." The shop went silent. Ji-woo's head snapped up from her datapad. Tae-sung thought he had heard wrong. 10,000? Tae-sung repeated. "Yes, and I will return with more credits if you have more of this substance." Velrax transferred the credits immediately. His long fingers trembled as he took the bottle. He opened it and breathed deeply. His crystalline body actually glowed brighter. Magnificent! Absolutely magnificent! Velrax left quickly, clutching the bottle like treasure. Tae-sung and Ji-woo stood in shock. "What just happened?" Ji-woo whispered. "I have no idea," Tae-sung said. The next day, Velrax returned. He brought 3 other aliens with him, a floating creature covered in tentacles, a lizard-like being with golden scales, a massive insect with rainbow wings. All of them were wealthy. Their clothing and jewelry screamed money. "The human," Velrax announced. "He has the nectar." All 3 aliens turned to stare at Tae-sung. He felt like prey being watched by predators. "What nectar?" Tae-sung asked. "More cologne," Velrax said. "They want to buy all you have." Tae-sung only had 2 more bottles, one in his quarters, one in his travel bag. He brought them both. The aliens started bidding against each other. The price climbed higher and higher. 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 credits per bottle. Tae-sung sold them both for 90,000 credits each. He and Ji-woo were suddenly rich, but they were also confused and a little scared. "Something is wrong," Ji-woo said after the aliens left. "That cologne is nothing special. I need to analyze it." She took a sample to her small lab in the back room. Tae-sung waited nervously. An hour later, Ji-woo came back with results. "The cologne is ordinary," she said. "Basic synthetic compounds. Nothing rare. Nothing valuable." "Then why did they pay so much?" Tae-sung asked. "I don't know. But Velrak said the scent came from you, not just the bottle. Maybe we should test your natural scent." They ran more tests. Ji-woo collected samples of Tae-sung's sweat, his breath, his hair. She analyzed everything. What she found made no sense at first. Then it made terrible sense. "It's your pheromones," Ji-woo said quietly. "Your natural human male pheromones. I compared them to galactic databases. Tae-sung, these compounds don't exist anywhere else in known space, and according to these readings, they should have a powerful effect on most alien neurochemistry." "What kind of effect?" Tae-sung asked. "I think they get high off them," Ji-woo said. "Like a drug." Tae-sung sat down hard. His mind raced. "Just male humans? I need to test others, but the compounds are strongest in human males, especially when concentrated. Cologne would mix with your natural scent and make it even stronger." Word spread fast. Within 3 days, wealthy aliens were arriving at the station asking for Tae-sung specifically. They offered him money just to stand near them. They wanted to buy his worn shirts, his used towels, anything that carried his scent. Station security got involved. A human officer named Hyun came to the shop. He was young, but serious. "This is getting out of control," Hyun said. "We have aliens camping outside your shop. Some are offering millions of credits. Do you understand what this means?" "No," Tae-sung admitted. "I really don't." "If human male scent is valuable to aliens, every human male in the galaxy is at risk," Hyun said. "There are criminals who would kidnap people for this. We need to contact Earth government. This is bigger than all of us." Ji-woo nodded. "He's right. We discovered something that could change everything. The economy, politics, everything." Tae-sung looked at his small shop. Yesterday he was a struggling merchant. Today he had more money than he knew what to do with. Tomorrow he might be responsible for something terrible. "What do we do?" he asked. "We report it," Hyun said. "Let the authorities handle it." But it was already too late. The message was spreading through the galactic networks. Human males produced the most valuable substance in known space. Wealthy aliens were preparing to pay any price. Criminal organizations were making plans. And on distant Earth, governments were just beginning to understand what had been discovered. Tae-sung looked at his hands. Ordinary human hands, attached to an ordinary human body. A body that apparently produced something worth more than gold, more than rare elements, more than anything else in the galaxy. The discovery had been made. There was no taking it back. The question now was, what would happen next? And Tae-sung had a sick feeling that things were about to get much worse before they got better. Dr. Hana arrived on Station Omega 7 3 days after Hyun sent his report to Earth. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life forms and how they interacted with humans. She came with a small team and serious questions. Tae-sung sat in the station's medical facility while Dr. Hana ran tests. More blood samples, more scans. She was thorough and professional, but he could see the concern in her eyes. "How many human males are on this station?" Dr. Hana asked Hyun. "About 200, Hyun replied. "And we've had problems, aliens following them, offering them money. 3 men reported being grabbed in corridors. We stopped it before anything bad happened, but it's getting worse every day." Dr. Hana nodded, studying her datapad. "The preliminary results are clear. Human male pheromones contain several compounds that are completely unique. When aliens breathe them in, their brains release chemicals that create intense pleasure and calm. It's not sexual. It's more like a combination of meditation and the best recreational drug they've ever experienced." "So I'm a drug dealer just by existing?" Tai-sung asked bitterly. You're not doing anything wrong, Dr. Hana said gently. You're just being human. The problem is that 60% of known alien species are affected. That's billions of potential customers. Ji-woo had been silent until now. Can the compounds be synthesized? Made in a lab? Dr. Hana shook her head. We've tried. The compounds are organic and incredibly complex. They're produced by human biology in ways we don't fully understand. Every attempt to recreate them artificially has failed. They must come from actual human males. Ambassador Kwan joined them an hour later. He was Earth's diplomatic representative in this sector. A middle-aged man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked like someone who had not slept in days. This is a crisis, Ambassador Kwan said bluntly. Earth's government is in emergency sessions. The UN, the Colonial Council, everyone is trying to figure out what to do. What are our options? Hyun asked. We could ban all trade, Ambassador Kwan said. Make it illegal to sell or collect human pheromones, but that won't stop black markets. It might make things worse. Or we could regulate it. Create a legal framework where human males can choose to participate if they want. Participate in what exactly? Tae-sung asked. Becoming products? It sounds terrible when you say it like that, Ambassador Kwan admitted. But the economic potential is enormous. If we handle this right, Earth could become the wealthiest planet in the galaxy overnight. If we handle it wrong, human males become targets for kidnapping and exploitation. The door opened. A tall alien entered, flanked by 2 guards. His species had blue skin and multiple arms. He wore expensive robes and carried himself with authority. I am Lord Kix of the Phosphorescent Empire, the alien announced. I have come to make an offer to the human government. Ambassador Kwan stood. I'm listening. My people are among those affected by human male essence, Lord Kix said. We will pay 1 million credits per vial. We will buy as much as you can provide. This could make Earth unimaginably wealthy. And if we refuse? Ambassador Kwan asked. Lord Kix's expression was hard to read, but his tone was clear. Then others will find ways to take what they want. I am offering you a legal path, a partnership, but the demand exists. It will be met one way or another. After Lord Kix left, the room fell silent. Everyone understood the threat. If Earth didn't create a legal system, criminals would create an illegal one. Over the next week, more wealthy aliens arrived. They came from dozens of different species and governments. All of them wanted the same thing. All of them offered incredible wealth. And all of them, in their own ways, suggested that refusal was not really an option. Tai-sung watched it all happen. He saw the greed in some eyes, the desperation in others. Some aliens talked about human pheromones like they were discussing fine wine. Others seemed ashamed of their need, but unable to resist it. It's an addiction, Dr. Hana explained one evening. Not exactly like human drug addiction, but similar. Their brains are wired to respond to these compounds. Some species are more susceptible than others. For the worst cases, regular exposure creates a psychological dependence. So we're dealers creating addicts, Ji-woo said. Only if we allow unregulated trade, Dr. Hana replied. With proper controls, we could limit exposure, prevent addiction, make it safe. Or we could just say no, Tae-sung said. Tell them humans aren't for sale. Ambassador Kwan looked at him sadly. I wish it were that simple. But there are already reports from Earth. Human males are being approached on the streets, offered money, followed. There was an attempted kidnapping in New York, another in Seoul. The criminals are already moving. That night, Tae-sung couldn't sleep. He walked the station corridors and saw the changes. Human males traveling in groups for safety, alien security guards watching them, merchants setting up shops that advertised genuine human goods, which really meant clothes and items that carried human scent. He passed a bar and heard aliens inside talking. They were discussing prices, routes to Earth, ways to make profit. Some talked about it like a business opportunity, others sounded more sinister. Tae-sung returned to his quarters and found Ji-woo waiting. She had been running more tests. "I found something," she said. "The pheromone concentration varies. It's stronger when humans exercise. When they're stressed, when they're in groups of other males, it's like our bodies produce more in certain conditions." "That's going to make things worse," Tae-sung said. "Maybe," Ji-woo replied. "Or maybe it means we can control production. If humans choose to participate, they could do it safely. Controlled environments, medical supervision, fair payment." "You're talking about pheromone farms," Tae-sung said. "Humans as livestock." "I'm talking about humans as workers," Ji-woo corrected. "Getting paid for something their bodies naturally produce, like donating plasma, but more valuable. The alternative is chaos, is criminals taking what they want by force." Tae-sung wanted to argue, but he couldn't. She was right. The galaxy now knew that human males were valuable. That knowledge couldn't be erased. The only question was how humanity would respond. 2 weeks after the discovery, Earth's government made an announcement. Human pheromone collection would be legal but strictly regulated. Donors must be adult males who consent freely. Collection facilities must meet safety standards. Prices would be controlled to prevent exploitation. The UN would oversee everything. Ambassador Kwan delivered the news on the station. "We're calling it the Voluntary Essence Program. No human will be forced to participate, but those who choose to can earn substantial money while helping Earth's economy." Tae-sung watched the announcement with mixed feelings. He understood the logic. He even agreed with it in principle. But something felt wrong about treating human bodies as resources, even if those humans consented. "What will you do?" Ji-woo asked him. Tae-sung thought about his struggling shop, about the money he could make, about the danger he would be in either way. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But I have a feeling we're all about to find out what humanity is really worth." 6 months after the discovery, Station Omega 7 looked completely different. Where there had been empty docks, now dozens of alien ships waited. Where there had been quiet corridors, now crowds pushed through markets. And where Tae-sung's small shop once stood, there was now something much larger. The Essence Pavilion took up an entire section of the station. Sung-ho, a businessman from Earth, had built it with money from alien investors. It was clean and modern, with medical facilities and comfortable rooms. The sign outside promised ethical collection, fair payment, complete safety. Tae-sung stood outside watching human males enter and leave. Some looked excited, others looked nervous. All of them were making more money than they ever had before. "Are you going in?" Ji-woo asked. She had stayed with him, even as his shop closed. They were partners in more than just business now. "Not yet," Tae-sung said. "I'm still trying to decide if this is right." Inside the pavilion, the process was simple. Human males entered private rooms with controlled temperature and humidity. They exercised lightly for an hour while wearing special suits that collected their sweat. The suits were then processed, and the pheromones were extracted and concentrated. Each session paid 5,000 credits. Some men did multiple sessions per day. Sung-ho had become wealthy beyond imagination. He owned 3 pavilions now, with more planned on Earth and the colonies. He employed human staff, alien security, and medical professionals. Everything was legal and regulated, just as the UN required. But not everyone was happy about it. Mi Young, a lawyer from Earth, had come to the station to advocate for donor rights. She set up an office near the pavilion and offered free legal advice. "The contracts are exploitative," Mi Young told a group of potential donors. 5,000 credits sounds like a lot, but the pavilions sell your essence for 50 times that amount. You deserve a bigger share. "We're lucky to get anything," one man argued. "A year ago, I was cleaning waste recyclers for minimum wage. Now I'm making more in a week than I made all last year. That doesn't mean you should accept exploitation, Mi-young insisted. You have leverage. Without donors, they have no product. Organize. Demand better terms. Tae-sung attended one of Mi-young's meetings. He found himself agreeing with her. Yes, donors were being paid. Yes, everything was legal. But the pavilion owners and alien buyers were getting rich while the donors got only a fraction of the value they created. We need a donors' union, Mi-young said. Collective bargaining, better contracts, medical benefits, retirement plans. You're not just workers, you're the entire supply chain. Some donors listened, others didn't care. They were making more money than they had ever dreamed of. Why complain? The galaxy was changing too. Word of human essence had spread to every corner of known space. Alien ships began arriving at Earth orbit, requesting permission to land. Human colonies that had struggled for decades were suddenly wealthy as pavilions opened everywhere humans lived. But darker things were happening too. Hyun had become head of station security, and his job had become much harder. Criminal syndicates were operating in the shadows. They offered donors money to work outside the legal system, where collection was less safe but more profitable. Some aliens didn't want to wait in line or pay official prices. We stopped 3 kidnapping attempts this week, Hyun told Tae-sung over drinks. They're getting bolder, more organized. Who's behind it? Tae-sung asked. Different groups. Alien crime syndicates. Human criminals who see an opportunity. There's a rumor about someone called the broker who coordinates everything, but we have no proof. One night, Tae-sung witnessed an attempted kidnapping himself. A young human male was walking alone when 3 aliens grabbed him. They tried to force him into a ship, but Hyun and his security team arrived just in time. The aliens fled, leaving the terrified man behind. Tae-sung helped the victim to safety. The man was shaking, crying. They said they would pay me, the man sobbed. Then they said if I didn't come willingly, they would take me anyway. They said no one would look for me. Tae-sung felt sick. This was the other side of the gold rush, the side that the pavilions and the UN didn't talk about. The next day, he visited the Merchant Consortium headquarters on the station. Chairman Rixaval, a powerful alien businessman, had requested a meeting. Tae-sung, Rixaval greeted him. His species had features like a bird, with bright feathers and sharp eyes. You are the one who discovered the value of human essence. You should be celebrated. I'm not sure celebration is appropriate, Tae-sung said. Earth has become wealthy, Rixaval continued. Your people are lifting themselves out of poverty. New colonies are thriving. Is this not a good thing? Some humans are thriving, Tae-sung corrected. Others are being hunted. Unfortunate, Rixaval admitted. But the consortium offers protection. Work with us. We will ensure legal operations expand and illegal ones are crushed. Everyone benefits. What do you want from me? Tae-sung asked. Endorsement, Rixaval said simply. You are famous now. The human who started it all. If you publicly support the trade, others will follow. If you oppose it, you give strength to those who would see this opportunity wasted. Tae-sung left without giving an answer. He returned to his quarters, where Ji-woo was working on her endless quest to synthesize the pheromones artificially. Any progress? He asked. None, she said, frustrated. The compounds are too complex. Every synthetic version lacks something. The aliens can tell the difference immediately. So humans remain the only source. For now, yes. Tae-sung looked at the financial reports Ji-woo had pulled up. Earth's economy had grown 30% in 6 months. Unemployment was at record lows. New technologies were being developed with alien partners. On paper, everything looked perfect. But Tae-sung also saw the other reports. Missing persons, assaults, protests. Human males who had become donors were now dealing with addiction-like behavior from regular alien customers. Some aliens were spending their entire fortunes on human essence, ruining themselves financially. "This is getting out of control," Tae-sung said. "It was always going to," Ji-woo replied. "You don't discover something this valuable and expect everything to stay calm. The question is, what we do about it." That question haunted Tae-sung. He had started all this by selling a bottle of cologne. Now millions of humans were affected. Billions of credits were flowing. Governments were making policy based on his accidental discovery. He finally made his decision. He went to the Essence Pavilion and registered as a donor. If this was happening, he needed to understand it from the inside. He needed to see the full truth of what human males were going through. The collection process was exactly as advertised. Clean, professional, safe. He exercised for an hour, and his essence was collected. He was paid 5,000 credits. It seemed simple. But when he left, he saw something that changed everything. A small group of protesters stood outside. They held signs that read, "Humans are not products," and "Stop the trade." Among them, he recognized one face. Bo-Ra, an activist from Earth, had come to fight against the pavilions. She looked at Tae-sung with disappointment as he exited. "So you've chosen profit over principle," she said. "I've chosen to understand what I helped create," Tae-sung replied. "Then understand this," Bo-Ra said. "Every credit you earn is blood money. You may not see the suffering now, but it's happening. Men are disappearing, being trafficked, exploited, and the legal trade only makes it easier for criminals to operate." Tae-sung wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because deep down he knew she was right. Detective Young arrived on Station Omega 7 with a mission. He was from Earth's Special Crimes Division, and he was investigating missing persons. 17 human males had disappeared from outer colonies in the past 3 months. All of them were last seen near alien-controlled areas. Tae-sung met him in a secure room at the security office. Young was in his 40s, with gray streaks in his hair and eyes that had seen too much. "I need your help," Young said directly. "You know this world better than most humans. You understand how the trade works. I need that knowledge to find these men." "What do you know so far?" Tae-sung asked. Young opened a holographic display. Images of missing men appeared in the air. "They all have one thing in common. They were all approached by recruiters offering better pay than the legal pavilions. Double or triple the credits for working privately with wealthy alien clients." "And they took the offer," Tae-sung said. "Some did. Others refused but disappeared anyway. We've traced some connections to a criminal network. Ships landing at unregistered coordinates, transfer of credits through untraceable accounts. Someone is running an organized operation." "The broker," Tae-sung said. "We've heard rumors." "It's more than rumors now," Young said. "We have evidence of facilities, underground locations where human males are being held. We just don't know where." Bo-Ra joined their investigation. Despite their earlier tension, she and Tae-sung shared the same goal now. They wanted to stop the trafficking. Ji-woo provided technical support, tracking financial transactions and data trails. It took weeks of careful work. They followed leads, interviewed witnesses, tracked ships. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The trafficking operation was massive, spanning multiple star systems, and it was protected by powerful interests who profited from it. Then they got their break. A man named Kyung escaped from one of the facilities. He arrived at the station half-starved, traumatized, barely able to speak. When he finally recovered enough to talk, his story horrified everyone who heard it. "There were dozens of us," Kyung said, his voice shaking, "kept in small rooms. They made us exercise constantly, collected our essence every few hours. If we refused, they didn't feed us. If we tried to escape, they hurt us." "Where was this facility?" Young asked gently. "I don't know. An asteroid somewhere. No windows, no communication. They kept us isolated from each other." Kyung started crying. Some men had been there for months. They'd given up hope. Bo-Ra held his hand. You're safe now. Can you remember anything else? Any detail might help us find the others. Kyung thought hard. The guards. Some were aliens, but some were human. They spoke Korean sometimes. And I heard them mention a name. The broker. They said the broker was visiting next week to check on production. Young immediately started tracking that lead. If the broker was visiting specific facilities, they could predict his route. They could find him. Meanwhile, Bo-Ra took Kyung's story public. She held a press conference that was broadcast across the galaxy. She showed images of Kyung's injuries. She described the conditions in the facility. She demanded action. The response was immediate and divided. Some aliens were shocked and apologetic. They claimed they had no idea illegal operations existed. Others defended the trade, saying a few criminals shouldn't ruin it for everyone. And some didn't care at all. They just wanted their essence, legal or not. Earth's government faced pressure from all sides. Stop the trade completely, regulate it better, punish the criminals, protect the donors. Everyone had opinions, but no one had solutions. Tae-sung felt the weight of responsibility crushing him. He returned to the place where it all started, his old shop location. The space was empty now, converted into storage. He stood there, remembering when his life was simple. "This is my fault," he said to Jiwoo, who had followed him. "You didn't create the demand," Jiwoo said. "You just discovered it existed." "I profited from it," Tae-sung said bitterly. "I sold those first bottles. I became a donor. I legitimized the whole thing." "You also helped uncover the trafficking," Jiwoo reminded him. "You're helping Detective Young. You're doing something about it now." But it didn't feel like enough. Not when men were suffering in hidden facilities across the galaxy. Young's investigation led them to a breakthrough. They identified a ship that was visiting multiple suspicious locations. They tracked it to an asteroid in an uninhabited system. With Hyun's help, they assembled a rescue team. The raid was military precision. Security forces surrounded the facility before the criminals knew what was happening. They breached the doors and found what Kyung had described: small rooms, dozens of human males. Equipment for forced essence collection, guards who fought back before being overwhelmed. Tae-sung was part of the rescue team. He insisted on coming despite the danger. He needed to see the truth with his own eyes. When they freed the prisoners, he helped them to safety. Men who could barely walk, men who flinched at every sound, men who had been treated like animals. And then, in one of the rooms, Tae-sung found someone he knew. Jae, his younger brother, sat in a corner, thin and broken. Tae-sung hadn't even known Jae was missing. They had lost contact months ago, and Tae-sung had assumed his brother was busy on a colony world. "Jae," Tae-sung whispered, kneeling beside him. "It's me. You're safe now." Jae looked at him with empty eyes. "They said no one was coming. They said no one cared." Tae-sung held his brother and wept. This wasn't abstract anymore. This wasn't statistics or reports. This was his family. This was personal. They rescued 43 men from that facility alone. Young's team identified 8 other facilities across 3 systems. More raids were planned. But they all knew this was just the beginning. The trafficking network was huge. Back on the station, Bo-Ra held another press conference. This time, she had freed victims beside her. Men willing to tell their stories. The images went viral across the galaxy. "This is what the essence trade has created," Bo-Ra said to the cameras. "We were told it would be regulated. We were told it would be safe. We were told humans would benefit. But look at these men. Look at what was done to them in the name of profit." Public opinion began to shift. Even aliens who had been enthusiastic about essence were now questioning the cost. Some governments started calling for complete bans. Others wanted stricter enforcement. The merchant consortium tried to distance itself from the illegal operations, claiming they had no knowledge. But Young's investigation revealed the truth. Some of the traffickers had connections to legal pavilion owners. Some alien governments had looked the other way when criminals operated in their space. And some humans had been complicit, helping to capture and transport victims for payment. The broker remained a mystery. They had found evidence of his existence but no identity. He was careful, protected, and according to intercepted communications, he wasn't worried about the raids. He had resources, connections. He would simply move operations and continue. Tae-sung visited Jae in the medical facility every day. His brother was recovering physically, but the mental scars would take longer to heal. "I'm sorry," Tae-sung said. "I should have known. I should have looked for you." "You couldn't have known," Jae said quietly. "They grabbed me on my way to work, threw me in a ship. I was gone before anyone noticed." "I started all this," Tae-sung said. "If I hadn't sold that cologne, then someone else would have discovered it eventually," Jae interrupted. "You didn't create evil men. You didn't make them hurt us. They chose to do that." But Tae-sung couldn't shake the guilt. He had been so focused on the opportunity, on the economics, on the regulations. He had forgotten that real people would suffer. He had forgotten that wherever there's value, there are predators. Now he understood the full truth of what his discovery had unleashed. And he knew he couldn't just walk away. He had to fight, for Jae, for the other victims, for every human male who was now at risk. The gold rush had revealed its true cost, and Tae-sung was going to make sure everyone paid for what they had done. Colonel Jin arrived with military authority and no patience for politics. She was Earth Defense Force, specialized in anti-trafficking operations, and she came with soldiers, ships, and a mandate to end the criminal networks by any means necessary. Tae-sung met her in a command center that had been set up on the station. Maps and data streams covered every wall, showing known trafficking routes and suspected facilities. Jin was tall and intense, her uniform crisp, her eyes sharp. "I've reviewed your investigation," Jin said. "Good work. But raids on individual facilities aren't enough. We need to cut off the head, find the broker, destroy the entire organization." "We don't know who he is," Young admitted. "We have traces, digital footprints, but he's protected." "Then we make him come to us," Jin said. She pointed to the map. "We've been reactive. Time to be proactive." Over the next days, they formed a plan. Tae-sung, Ji-woo, Hyun, Bo-ra, Young, and a dozen others became a team. They had different skills but shared purpose. Stop the trafficking, protect human males, make the galaxy understand that humans weren't products. Aicha joined them unexpectedly. He was a former donor who had worked in the legal pavilions, but he had also worked illegally, recruited by traffickers before escaping. His insider knowledge was invaluable. "The illegal operations pay better," Aicha explained to the team. 3 times what pavilions offer. They target men who need money desperately, promise easy work. By the time you realize it's a trap, you're already on a ship heading somewhere remote. "How did you escape?" Bo-ra asked. "I got lucky," Aicha said. "They were moving us between facilities. The ship had mechanical problems. During repairs, I slipped away. Most men aren't that lucky." Dr. Hana had continued her research and discovered something crucial. The addiction to human essence wasn't just psychological. For certain alien species, regular exposure created biological dependence. Their bodies adapted. Without regular essence, they experienced withdrawal symptoms. "This changes everything," Dr. Hana told the team. "Some aliens aren't just criminals. They're addicts. They need essence, like humans need water. That makes them desperate, dangerous." "Can it be treated?" Ji-woo asked. "Maybe. But it would require the aliens to admit they have a problem. Most won't. They see it as a luxury, not an addiction." The team discovered the trafficking network was even larger than they thought. Thousands of human males had disappeared across dozens of systems. Some facilities held hundreds of prisoners. The operation generated billions of credits annually, and then they found their break. a mysterious contact reached out to Young, someone calling themselves the Architect. They claimed to have inside information on the broker's organization. "Why help us?" Young asked during a secure communication. "Because this has gone too far," the Architect's disguised voice replied. "I work within the system. I've seen the files, the contracts, the truth, and I can't be silent anymore." The Architect provided documents, financial records, shipping manifests, names of people involved, both alien and human. The information was explosive. Government officials had taken bribes. Legal pavilion owners had funded illegal operations. Respected businesses had knowingly transported trafficked men. "This goes to the top," Young said, reviewing the files. "Some very powerful people are involved." "Then we have to be careful," Jin said. "If we move too fast, they'll destroy evidence. If we move too slow, more men disappear." They coordinated with Earth's government and the UN. Raids were planned simultaneously across multiple systems. Dozens of facilities would be hit at once. Arrests would be made on Earth, on colonies, and on alien worlds. But first, they needed to find the broker himself. The Architect provided a lead. The broker would be attending a meeting on a neutral station in 2 weeks. Major players in the essence trade would be there, both legal and illegal. It was a rare opportunity. "It's a trap," Hyun warned. "Too convenient." "Maybe," Jin agreed, "but it's our only shot at him." Tae-sung volunteered to go undercover. He was famous now, the man who discovered essence value. Criminals and legitimate businessmen both wanted to meet him. He could get an invitation. "Too dangerous," Ji-woo protested. "Everything we're doing is dangerous," Tae-sung replied. "My brother was trafficked because of what I started. I need to be part of ending it." The plan was set. Tae-sung would attend the meeting wearing hidden recording devices. Jin's soldiers would be nearby, ready to strike. They would identify the broker, gather evidence, and shut down the meeting. The 2 weeks passed in preparation and tension. Jae was recovering but still traumatized. He supported Tae-sung's decision even though it scared him. "Be careful," Jae said the night before Tae-sung left. "I just got you back. I don't want to lose you again." The neutral station was massive and luxurious, built for wealthy traders and diplomats. Tae-sung arrived dressed in expensive clothes, playing the part of a successful businessman. He received strange looks from other humans, but aliens treated him like royalty. The meeting was in a private hall. Dozens of attendees, both alien and human. Some he recognized as legal pavilion owners, others were clearly criminals, their body language predatory and watchful. A host welcomed everyone. "We gathered to discuss the future of the essence trade, opportunities, challenges, and how we can all profit together." Speeches began. Some talked about regulations, others about expansion. A few openly discussed ways to bypass laws. Tae-sung recorded everything, his hidden devices capturing voices and faces. Then a figure entered from a side door. Everyone fell silent. The figure wore a hood that obscured their features, but their presence commanded respect. "The broker," someone whispered. The broker spoke. "The recent raids are unfortunate, but they are manageable. We've lost facilities, yes, but we've already replaced them. Earth's government can regulate all they want. We will always find ways to meet demand." Tae-sung felt cold rage building inside him. This person spoke about human suffering like it was a business inconvenience. "Some of you have concerns," the broker continued. "You worry about exposure, about arrests. Let me assure you, we have protection at the highest levels. Governments that depend on our credits, officials who look the other way. We are untouchable." That was enough. Tae-sung gave the signal. Jin's soldiers burst into the room from multiple entrances. Chaos erupted. Some attendees tried to run. Others fought. Aliens and humans alike were subdued and arrested. But the broker was fast. He fled through the side door, running deeper into the station. Tae-sung pursued without thinking. He chased the hooded figure through corridors, his heart pounding. The broker led him to a docking bay. A small ship was waiting, engines already warming up. Tae-sung reached the bay just as the broker was boarding. "Stop!" Tae-sung shouted. The broker turned, and for the first time, Tae-sung saw his face clearly. It was human. A man in his 50s with cold eyes and an arrogant smile. "You're human," Tae-sung said, shocked. "Of course," the broker replied. "Who better to profit from human resources than humans ourselves? You think aliens started this? We did. We saw the opportunity and took it." "You trafficked your own people," Tae-sung said, disgusted. "I created an industry," the broker corrected. "I made humans valuable. Before Essence, we were nothing in the galaxy. Now we matter. You should be thanking me." Hyun and his security team arrived before the broker could escape. They arrested him, finally ending the chase that had taken months. In the following days, the arrests multiplied. Hundreds of people involved in trafficking were taken into custody. Facilities were shut down. Victims were freed. The architect's documents provided evidence for countless prosecutions, but the victory felt incomplete. Yes, they had broken the major networks. Yes, the broker was captured, but the demand for Essence still existed. Legal trade continued, and smaller criminal operations were already forming to fill the gap left by the big networks. "We won a battle," Jin said at the debriefing. "But the war isn't over." Tae-sung knew she was right. They had saved hundreds of men. They had exposed corruption. They had proven that organized resistance could fight against exploitation. But as long as human essence remained valuable, the threat would continue. The team had become something more than investigators. They had become protectors, advocates, and they all knew their work was far from finished. The Galactic Court convened on Terra Nova, a neutral world where the major species settled their disputes. The chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from hundreds of governments. Humans sat among them, no longer minor players but central to the proceedings. High Arbiter Thalvin presided over the trials. His species was ancient and respected, with translucent skin and eyes that seemed to see through deception. He spoke with authority that made even powerful leaders fall silent. "These proceedings will determine the future of human essence trade," Thalvin announced. "We will hear evidence of crimes. We will judge the guilty, and we will decide what laws will govern all species going forward." The trials began with the broker. His real name was revealed as David Sung, a human businessman who had built his trafficking empire over 2 years. He showed no remorse as prosecutors presented evidence. "I provided a service," David Sung said when allowed to speak. "Aliens wanted essence. Humans needed money. I connected supply and demand. That's not criminal. That's capitalism." Nam, one of the freed victims, was called to testify. He had been held in captivity for 8 months. His body was scarred. His voice shook as he spoke, but his words were powerful. "They treated us like animals," Nam said. "Worse than animals. We were machines to them, tools to extract product. I begged them to let me go. I promised to work legally. But they said I was more valuable to them as a prisoner." Nam's testimony was broadcast across the galaxy. Millions watched. For many aliens, this was the first time they truly understood what their desire for essence had created. Some were horrified, others tried to justify it, but no one could deny the truth anymore. On Earth, political chaos erupted. The government that had created the Voluntary Essence Program collapsed under pressure. Emergency elections were held. A hardliner named Chancellor So-jin won in a landslide with one promise: protect human dignity at any cost. So-jin's first act was to address the Galactic Court directly. "Earth demands justice," So-jin said, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Our people were trafficked, enslaved, tortured, and some alien governments knew, some profited, some looked away. This cannot stand. We demand reparations. We demand treaty changes. And we demand that essence trade be banned completely. Her words caused an uproar. Alien representatives protested. Some governments had become dependent on essence trade for their economies. Their wealthy citizens were addicted. A complete ban would cause massive problems. The trade can be regulated, argued Ambassador Rixval of the Merchant Consortium. The criminals have been caught. Legal operations can continue safely. Safe? Sojin replied coldly. Tell that to the thousands of men who were trafficked. Tell that to their families. There is no safe way to treat sentient beings as resources. While the political battle raged, Ji-woo finally achieved her goal. After months of research, she created a synthetic version of human essence that actually worked. It wasn't perfect. Some aliens could tell the difference, but for most species it was close enough to satisfy their cravings. This changes everything, Dr. Hana said, reviewing Ji-woo's work. If we can produce synthetic essence in labs, humans don't need to be the source anymore. It's not as valuable, Ji-woo admitted. Aliens will always prefer the real thing. But this gives us an alternative, a way to reduce demand without banning the trade entirely. But not everyone wanted an alternative. The legal pavilions saw synthetic essence as a threat to their profits. Alien purists claimed synthetic was inferior. And some addicted aliens refused to accept substitutes. Tae-sung was called to testify at the Galactic Court. He stood before representatives from hundreds of worlds and told his story. How he had discovered the value of essence by accident. How he had profited. How he had watched the industry spiral into horror. I thought regulation would be enough, Tae-sung said. I thought if we made rules, humans would be safe. I was wrong. No amount of regulation can protect people from an industry that treats them as products. Some things shouldn't be for sale. Human bodies are one of those things. His testimony was powerful, but opinions remained divided. Some aliens agreed completely. Others argued that humans who chose to donate should have that right. The debate seemed endless. Then disaster struck. A terrorist group, claiming to represent essence freedom, attacked a facility on Earth where synthetic essence was being produced. The explosion killed 30 people, both humans and aliens. The group published a message saying they would continue attacks until natural essence rights were restored. Another group, human extremists who opposed all essence trade, attacked an alien embassy. They killed 12 aliens, claiming it was revenge for trafficking. Their message was equally clear. All aliens were guilty. The galaxy teetered on the edge of war. Chancellor So-jin mobilized Earth's military. Several alien governments did the same. Merchant ships stopped traveling to human space out of fear. Human colonies in alien systems were evacuated for their protection. This is spiraling out of control, Ambassador Kwan warned at an emergency UN meeting. If we don't find compromise soon, millions will die in a war nobody wants. The Merchant Consortium made a move that shocked everyone. They assembled a fleet and blockaded Earth. No ships in or out, no trade, no communication. It wasn't an act of war, they claimed. It was economic pressure. Lift the blockade immediately, Sojin demanded. Agree to reasonable essence trade terms, Rixval countered. Your all-or-nothing stance is destroying galactic stability. Chancellor So-jin faced an impossible choice. Earth could break the blockade with military force, but that would mean war. Earth could surrender to demands, but that would mean human males remained at risk. There had to be another way. Tae-sung, watching the crisis unfold, felt the weight of responsibility crushing him again. This all started because he sold cologne to an alien. Now the galaxy was on the brink of war. He needed to do something. He contacted everyone who had been part of the resistance. Ji-woo, Hyun, Bora, Young, Jin, Acha, Dr. Hana, Mi-young, all of them. They met in secret on a neutral station. "We need a solution that both sides can accept," Tae-sung said. "Sojin is right that humans need protection. But Rixval is right that outright ban creates more problems. What if we combine both approaches?" They worked for 3 days straight, barely sleeping. They consulted with freed victims like Nam and Jae. They reviewed Jiwoo's synthetic research. They studied legal frameworks and economic models. And finally, they created a proposal. Ambassador Kwan presented it to both sides. It was called the Aurora Accords, named after humanity's hope for a new dawn. The Aurora Accords proposed strict rules. Synthetic essence would be the primary product. Natural essence collection would be legal but heavily limited. Only specially licensed facilities could collect it. Donors would receive 70% of profits, not the tiny percentage they got before. Independent oversight would monitor everything. Any trafficking would be treated as a war crime. Reparations would be paid to victims, and aliens who were addicted would receive treatment programs. "It's not perfect," Kwan said, "but it protects humans while acknowledging the reality that some humans will choose to donate and some aliens genuinely need essence." Debate raged for days. Sojin opposed it as too weak. Rixval opposed it as too restrictive. But public pressure from both humans and reasonable aliens grew stronger. People were tired of conflict. They wanted peace. Finally, after tense negotiations, both sides agreed to the Aurora Accords. The blockade was lifted. Military forces stood down. The Galactic Court adopted the Accords as binding law. The broker and other traffickers received severe sentences. Some were imprisoned for life. Some were executed according to their own species' laws. Assets were seized and given to victim compensation funds. But the victory felt hollow to Tae-sung. Yes, they had achieved peace. Yes, they had protected human rights. But the cost had been enormous. Thousands of men had suffered. Dozens had died in the terrorist attacks. Trust between species was damaged, maybe permanently. "We did our best," Jiwoo told him as they watched the accords being signed. "Was it enough?" Tae-sung asked. "It has to be," Jiwoo replied, "because it's all we have." 5 years had passed since the Aurora Accords were signed. Station Omega-7 looked different again. But this time, the changes felt positive. The markets were busy with legitimate trade. Security was present but not overwhelming. And human males walked freely without fear of being targeted. Tae-sung stood in front of his new business, a consulting firm that helped humans and aliens navigate the complex regulations around essence trade. He wasn't rich anymore, having donated most of his fortune to victim support programs. But he was comfortable. More importantly, he was at peace. Jiwoo's synthetic essence had become the standard product. Her company produced millions of doses annually, sold at reasonable prices. Natural essence still existed as a luxury product, but only a handful of licensed facilities collected it. The donors were treated well, paid fairly, and protected by strict oversight. "Morning," Jiwoo said, joining him outside the office. She had become his business partner again, though their relationship had grown into something more over the years. "Big meeting today." They were hosting a conference for the Sentient Being Protection Act, a law that Bo-Ra had helped create. It established rights for all species, preventing exploitation of biological properties. Other species had unique traits too, though none as valuable as human essence. The act protected everyone. Bo-Ra arrived early for the conference. She had become a major figure in galactic rights advocacy, traveling constantly to speak and organize. But she always made time to visit Omega-7, where it all began. "How's the resistance?" Tae-sung asked her with a smile. It was their running joke. The resistance had become an official organization, the Interspecies Protection Bureau, headed by Hyun. "Busy," Bo-Ra replied. "We shut down 3 illegal operations last month, smaller than the old networks but still dangerous. The fight continues." The fight did continue, but it was winnable now. Criminal operations still tried to traffic humans, but enforcement was serious and penalties were severe. More importantly, the synthetic alternative meant demand for trafficked essence was much lower. Why risk prison when legal synthetic was available? Jay arrived next. Tae-sung's brother had recovered remarkably well, though he still had difficult days. He had become an advocate himself, speaking to freed victims and helping them heal. His testimony at the trials had helped convict dozens of criminals. "How are you doing?" Tae-sung asked, hugging his brother. "Good," Jay said. "Better. I'm helping a new group of men who were just freed from an operation in the Outer Rim. They're struggling, but they'll make it. We all do." Detective Young attended the conference, too. He had been promoted to head the Galactic Task Force against trafficking. His work never ended, but progress was measurable. Missing persons cases had dropped by 90%. Recovery of victims was faster. Criminals knew they would be caught eventually. Dr. Hana presented research on addiction treatment for aliens. Her programs had helped thousands break their dependence on essence. It wasn't easy. Some aliens relapsed, but recovery was possible, and that gave hope. "The key is treating it as a medical condition, not a moral failing," Dr. Hana explained to the conference attendees. "Addiction is addiction, regardless of species. Compassion and science can cure it." Mi Young had achieved her goal of protecting donor rights. The unions she helped create ensured fair treatment. Donors were now respected workers with benefits, retirement plans, and medical care. No one could exploit them anymore, at least not legally. Ambassador Kwan spoke about diplomatic progress. The Aurora Accords had created frameworks for other issues, too. Trade disputes, resource conflicts, cultural exchanges. Humans had gone from galactic nobodies to major players, earning respect not through their biology, but through their principles. "We showed the galaxy that profit without ethics is worthless," Kwan said. "Some species listened. Others didn't. But enough did that we've built something better." The merchant consortium still existed, but under heavy regulation. Rixaval had retired after the blockade crisis, replaced by younger leaders who understood the new reality. They had fought the Accords initially, but now accepted them. Legal trade was profitable enough, and the risk of war had been too high. During lunch break, Tae-sung walked through the station with Ji-woo. They passed the area where his original shop had been. A memorial stood there now, honoring the victims of trafficking. Names were carved into stone. Jay's name was there, along with thousands of others. "Do you ever regret it?" Ji-woo asked. "That day you sold cologne to Velrax?" Tae-sung considered the question. "I regret the suffering that followed, but the discovery was inevitable. If not me, someone else would have found it eventually, maybe in a worse way. At least we had a chance to shape the response." "We did more than that," Ji-woo said. "We fought back. We protected people. We changed laws. That matters." In the afternoon, Aicha spoke to the conference about his experience. He had become a counselor, using his past to help others. His story of exploitation and escape inspired many. "I was a victim," Aicha said, "but I refused to stay a victim. I chose to be a survivor. Everyone here has that choice. The systems exist now to support that choice." Colonel Jin provided a security update. Her forces had dismantled the last major trafficking network 3 months ago. Smaller operations still appeared occasionally, but they were quickly crushed. The galaxy had learned that human trafficking would not be tolerated. "We maintain eternal vigilance," Jin said, "because the threat never truly disappears. But we've proven that organized resistance works. We've proven that criminals can be defeated." The conference ended with a celebration. 5 years of progress, 5 years of protection, 5 years of humans proving their worth through more than their biology. That evening, Tae-sung and his closest friends gathered privately, the original resistance members who had fought together. They shared a meal and reflected on everything that had happened. "We changed the galaxy," Hyun said, raising a glass. "The galaxy changed us too," Bo-Ra added. "To the future," Young said, "whatever it brings." They all drank to that. The future was uncertain. New challenges would come, but they had proven they could face those challenges together. Tae-sung looked around at these people who had become his family. Ji-woo, who had stood by him through everything. Jae, who had survived and thrived despite horror. Hyun, Bo-Ra, Young, Jin, A-cha, Dr. Hana, Mi-young, and so many others who had fought for what was right. They weren't heroes in the traditional sense. They were ordinary people who had faced an extraordinary situation. But together, they had achieved something remarkable. They had taken a crisis and turned it into a foundation for justice. Later, alone with Ji-woo in their quarters, Tae-sung received a message. It was from Velrax, the alien who had bought that first bottle of cologne so long ago. "I wanted to apologize," Velrax's message said. "I didn't understand what my desire for essence would unleash. I contributed to terrible suffering. I'm grateful the Aurora Accords exist now. I'm grateful humans taught us a better way. Thank you." Tae-sung showed the message to Ji-woo. "What do you think?" "I think people can change," Ji-woo said. "Humans and aliens both. That's what gives me hope." The next morning, Tae-sung returned to work. His consulting firm had new clients, both human and alien, trying to navigate the complex new reality. He helped them understand regulations. He connected them with resources. He ensured that trade happened ethically. It was small work compared to the grand battles they had fought, but it was important work. Every day he helped prevent the next crisis. Every day he protected the next potential victim. Every day he built the better galaxy they had all fought for. Human essence remained valuable. That hadn't changed. But now, humans controlled how that value was used. They had turned vulnerability into strength. They had proven that worth wasn't determined by what you could be exploited for, but by how you responded to exploitation. Earth had grown wealthy beyond imagination. New technologies flourished. Human colonies thrived across dozens of systems. Humanity had become a major galactic power, respected by some species and envied by others. But the real victory wasn't the wealth or the power. It was the principles they had established. Bodily autonomy was now recognized as a fundamental right across the galaxy. Trafficking was treated as the serious crime it was. Victims had support systems. Workers had protections. The Aurora Accords would be tested. New challenges would emerge. But the foundation was strong. And if history had taught Tae-sung anything, it was that humans could adapt to any challenge. He looked out at the station, at the aliens and humans working side by side, at the ships coming and going peacefully, at the future they were building together. "Was it worth it?" Ji-woo asked, joining him at the window. Tae-sung thought about everything they had lost, the suffering, the struggles, the men who died. Then he thought about what they had gained, the protections, the justice, the hope. "Yes," he said finally, "it was worth it." And as the station rotated through another cycle, bringing another day in this new galaxy they had helped create, Tae-sung felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not perfect peace. Not eternal peace. But the peace that comes from knowing you fought for what was right. The peace that comes from seeing positive change. The peace that comes from surviving the storm and finding calm waters on the other side. The discovery of human essence value had changed everything. But humanity's response to that discovery had changed something even more important. It had proven that civilization wasn't measured by technology or wealth or power. It was measured by how you treated your most vulnerable, by what you were willing to fight for, by what you refused to compromise. And in that fight, humanity had shown the galaxy what they were truly made of. Not pheromones or biological compounds, but courage, resilience, and an unwavering belief that some things were worth more than any price. That was humanity's real value. That was what made them special, and that was what would carry them forward into whatever came next.